This is the new LEGO Lambda Shuttle. It has 961 pieces, it costs £140, and it features characters we've simply never seen before. There's no doubt that on first glance this set looks absolutely stunning, although to be fair, it would. It's a Lambda-Class shuttle, and that shuttle is one of the most beautiful things to have come out of the Star Wars universe. When the first pictures appeared for this set, I thought LEGO had done it. A compact, modern, play-scale set which captured the look of the Imperial Shuttle perfectly. But the longer you look at it, the more a peculiar feeling begins to creep in. The cockpit looks right, the body is sharp, the silhouette is familiar. It feels as though LEGO have nailed it, except they really haven't. I went through my LEGO Dark Ages, which is the period of your life where you stop buying LEGO because you're far too mature and sensible. Instead, you spend the same money on stuff that doesn't matter, like trousers you never wear, or food. Unfortunately, my LEGO Dark Ages coincided with every previous Lambda Shuttle, which meant I missed all of them. The arrival of a completely new LEGO set of this ship filled me with such joy, especially as it meant I could now buy a set from LEGO rather than eBay, and without the risk of opening a box filled with pasta. Before getting to the model, a quick look at the box art. After several years of expensive LEGO sets arriving in boxes so monotone and polished they look as though they were designed by Apple, it's refreshing to see an actual background. Around the back, the shuttle is shown landed inside the light cruiser, alongside the various play features and the minifigures. The only slightly exhausting part of the box is the large Mandalorian banner across the front. It is accurate, of course, but after the 1.5 million Mandalorian LEGO sets we've had in 2026, the charm does wear off somewhat. While you're here, please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoy this style of review. My last two major reviews have had more than 13,000 views between them, but the channel currently sits at 200 subscribers, so please consider engaging with the video. It really helps out a new channel like mine. One of the first things you notice during the build is just how seriously LEGO has taken the strength of this model. It's Technic pin after Technic pin, locking the central wing and the body together using methods that are normally reserved for the construction of suspension bridges. The Lambda's central fin is relatively thin. It could easily have been built purely from layered bricks, which would have looked fine right up until the point of that first swoosh around the living room, when half of it would have detached and flown towards the TV with the same velocity as an unstrapped Wii controller. Instead, LEGO has effectively strapped the entire thing down, and the result is extraordinarily sturdy. You can pick the entire ship up by the central fin, you can move it around and swoosh it through the air without constantly preparing yourself for parts flying off. It wants to be picked up, and that makes it much better as an actual playset. It feels less like a delicate UCS model and more like an object you could use to defend your home. Although the police might question why there's a burglar with an Imperial shuttle embedded in his forehead. Then there is something truly remarkable. There are no stickers in this set. There's even a printed piece. At this very moment, a LEGO Star Wars fan has fallen to their knees and begun weeping in delight at hearing a LEGO Star Wars set has no stickers. Unfortunately, the celebrations can't last, because while the shuttle may have printed pieces and be strong enough to survive a burglary, it has another problem. Before going into the big problem with this set, it's worth highlighting some of the things this set gets right. Firstly, the wing mechanism is really well done. The folding wings are one of the most important features of any Lambda shuttle. Get the mechanism wrong, and the entire model feels a bit clumsy and rickety, almost as though the Empire outsourced the design to the bloke that fitted my garden gate. Here, the mechanism is really neat. The circular hinge area is integrated cleanly into the sides of the body. It doesn't feel bulky and it allows the wings to move smoothly between landing and flight positions. Even the hinge looks good. Normally a hinge is something a designer tries to hide, like a receding hairline or love handles, but this one is so clean and satisfying to use. The cockpit is better still. The Lambda shuttle's angular shaped nose is essential to its personality. Get it wrong and the entire ship looks as though it's melted in a heatwave. Previous LEGO versions have sometimes looked slightly awkward in this area, but here the designers have absolutely nailed the shape. It really does look superb. The spring-loaded missiles are also handled unusually well. Stud shooters and spring-loaded missiles have an unfortunate habit of appearing as hideous growths attached to some otherwise clean vehicles, you often end up with a beautifully shaped Star Wars Lego set that looks as though someone's bolted 2 Nerf guns to the side of it. Here, however, the missiles are hidden surprisingly well, they sit neatly within the body and don't interfere with the overall shape. Yes, there is still a red tip visible when the missiles are loaded, but there is an easy solution. Just fire them. Lose them deliberately. Then you never have to look at the red tips again, and actually the white trigger for the missiles sits more flush with the wings as well. So far, I think this set gets top marks. And at this stage, it might sound like I'm describing one of the finest playscale Star Wars ships LEGO has ever produced, and perhaps I would be, if I couldn't stop looking at the wings. To explain the main problem with this set, it's worth establishing what I actually want from a LEGO Star Wars model. I am an adult collector, I display LEGO and occasionally swoosh LEGO around when I think no one is watching. For me, the appearance of a set matters more than almost anything else. That doesn't mean I expect absolute screen accuracy. If I wanted a perfect replica, I would buy a scale model rather than a toy made from plastic bricks with studs on top. What I want is the model to feel right. It needs roughly the correct proportions. It shouldn't become a caricature of the thing it's trying to represent. When the first images of this set appeared, my immediate reaction was that this set looked great, but you very quickly see that something is very wrong. The central wing, it is just too short. It's not even a minor inaccuracy, it's significantly too short, and once you notice it, the entire model begins to feel different, because the Lambda shuttle is a design built around height and elegance. When the shuttle is landed, the 3 wings form this tall, narrow, almost ceremonial shape. On the LEGO version, the middle wing stops too soon, and because the shuttle has a surprisingly wide amount of mass through its centre, the entire ship looks slightly stubby. The issue is most obvious when the ship is landed, because that's when you get all 3 wings close together. In flight mode, the issue is much less noticeable. With the side wings extended, they spread away from the body and create a better shape. Because the wings are no longer sitting alongside one another, your eye can't compare the lengths as easily. Naturally, the more time I spend with it, the more I think all 3 wings are slightly too short, especially in relation to the width of the fuselage. And this is not about demanding microscopic accuracy from a LEGO toy. What matters is whether the model captures the character of the original. The frustrating part is how little would have been required to fix it. This is not a model where the entire design needed to be ripped up and thrown out the window. The middle wing simply needed to be a little longer. Perhaps another few rows of plates, another handful of elements, 20 or 30 pieces across the 3 wings to stretch the silhouette and give the ship the proportions it deserves. That's all, and when a set is this close, the missed opportunity becomes so much harder to ignore. If it had been terrible, there would have been nothing to discuss. You would look at it, decide it's wrong, and move on. But this isn't terrible. It's excellent in so many ways that the mistake feels that much worse. It's another example of LEGO downsizing a familiar Star Wars ship until some of its character disappears. We've seen it with the Arc 170, another one of my favourite Star Wars ships. When the proportions are reduced too aggressively, the ship doesn't look good, and now the Lambda has suffered the same fate. Shrinkflation has officially reached the Galactic Empire. And then there's the finish on the wings themselves. When the ship is in flight mode, you see the clean upper surfaces of the wings, making the model look sleek. When it's landed, however, you see the undersides of the wings. There are exposed reverse studs, which I don't mind enormously, but they sit alongside bulky exposed Technic connections that make the wing surfaces look considerably less finished than the rest of the model, which is disappointing because the Lambda shuttle is meant to look iconic in both positions, and I can't escape the feeling that LEGO was standing on the edge of this set being great. All they needed to do was finish the wings. Now, the wings are a real problem, they're the reason this set falls short, but while I'm here recording myself pointing angrily at a small plastic spaceship, there are a few other things worth mentioning. LEGO has created a model whose best angle is with the wings lowered and the ship suspended in flight, and then they didn't include a display stand. It's like selling someone a magnificent telescope without a tripod. Technically you can still enjoy the view, you just have to stand there holding it for hours like an idiot. You could purchase a stand from a third party, but this is an already expensive set, so purchasing another piece of equipment merely to display it in its better position feels a little like paying extra for completing LEGO's design. At the front of the shuttle, underneath the cockpit, there's a small boarding ramp. It doesn't actually lead anywhere, it's more of a small Imperial patio, but it is a very good inclusion. The ramp actually adds to the appearance of the shuttle when it's landed. The set also includes 5 minifigures, all based around scenes involving this Lambda shuttle in the second season of The Mandalorian. Some are very common figures, some we're seeing for the very first time. The first figure is a standard Imperial Stormtrooper. It uses the familiar modern design, which in my opinion is a very caricatured design of the Stormtroopers, rather like how I've been describing this shuttle actually. We also get Din Djarin, another Din Djarin. At this point, anyone who's been collecting the 2026 LEGO Star Wars sets may have enough to army build him. That aside, it is easy to overlook the fact that this remains an excellent minifigure. The helmet looks good, and the printing continues down the arms, legs and feet. It is strange that they omitted the Beskar spear here, as this set is based on the Season 2 finale. The spear is rather important during his fight with Moff Gideon. Now, the Moff Gideon included is rather more interesting because this is a new version of the character. The torso has been slightly updated and the skin tone is lighter than on the previous figure, which I think produces a more natural and more accurate likeness to the actor. The facial expression works particularly well. There is a slight smirk that captures Gideon's expression and personality without becoming exaggerated. The torso printing is clean, but it's the dual-sided cape that is excellent. The red interior against the otherwise black outfit gives the figure such a menacing appearance. It is awesome. He also carries the newer LEGO Darksaber. Unfortunately, the Darksaber still doesn't look especially good. I think the Darksaber is distinctive enough that it really deserves its own dedicated mold. The current version just isn't cutting it, so Gideon is a very strong figure, holding a rather less convincing weapon. Almost excellent. Oh, and there's that saying again. Doc Pershing is also in this set and may be the most desirable figure in this set, as LEGO has never made him before. Fortunately, LEGO's done him justice. The likeness is very good, the facial printing resembles the character, the hairpiece works, and the torso captures his Imperial research uniform really well. The Kaminoan insignia on his arm is an especially welcome detail, even if it is just a small piece of printing. The Imperial Shuttle is not merely a generic background character, he has dialogue and he takes part in the scene. The figure itself is very good, the uniform printing is clean, the arm printing is a nice touch, and the helmet does a good job of replicating how he looks. I do think maybe including a second shuttle pilot would have been a sensible inclusion here. The Lambda is flown by 2 pilots in the scene, and having a matching pair in the cockpit would have made the ship feel more complete. There is, however, a problem with that idea. The cockpit only contains space for one, so perhaps LEGO didn't omit the second pilot because it was cheaper. Perhaps they omitted him because there was nowhere for him to go. From the outside, this is possibly one of the best cockpits LEGO has ever done for a play-scale Lambda shuttle, but for anyone buying this set as a playset, the fact that there's only space for one fig is disappointing. The windscreen is dark, but it is still translucent enough that you can see the figure inside. This makes the lack of 2 pilots visible. The shuttle also contains a second interior in the central body. Now, the interior is what estate agents would describe as cozy. And by cozy, I mean every minifigure looks as though they're trying to escape through a bathroom window. To access it, you lower one of the wings and lift the panel on the side, and this can be done from either side of the model. It's not especially convenient. You can't lift away the roof or any other part of the body to get better access. This opening is all you get, forcing you to perform keyhole surgery just to sit the minifigures. But you know, there is technically space for all of the figures, even if they end up looking like a collection of tiny plastic Pennywises waiting in a drain. So to LEGO's credit, it is nice that an interior was included at all. Moving to the rear of the ship, the engines are represented using translucent blue pieces, and of course they look great. Underneath the model, there's retractable landing gear, which is always a welcome inclusion. Here, the gear folds into the body when the shuttle is in flight. The only annoyance is a blue Technic pin, which looks very out of place. Fortunately, when the shuttle is actually sitting on the surface, the landing gear is mostly hidden beneath the body, so it isn't as much of a big deal in this instance, and none of those smaller annoyances would be particularly difficult to forgive, except this costs £140. Now that's a lot of money for 961 pieces. The price per piece is never a perfect measurement of value, but even allowing for that, this is expensive. And the issue isn't that this set feels cheap. It doesn't. It feels dense, sturdy and well engineered, but at £140 the short wings become that much harder to excuse. This set is an Amazon exclusive, so you probably expect a minimum of 15% discount that we usually see on Amazon would bring it down to £119, which would be a little bit better. Otherwise, I would wait for a strong LEGO promotion before picking up this set, maybe a double insiders points or a worthwhile gift with purchase. This is a handsome LEGO Imperial Lambda-Class shuttle. In flight mode, displayed on a stand, this set can look magnificent. But the central fin is too short. The outer wings are slightly too short as well. LEGO completed the difficult work. It designed a great cockpit, engineered the hinges well, reinforced the structure, and concealed the play features. Not to mention that the lack of stickers is enough to make any long-term fan briefly attain inner peace. Then, with greatness only a handful of pieces away, they stopped. And that is precisely what makes this set so frustrating. It is not a failure, it's an almost definitive modern Lambda shuttle, an almost perfect compact display model. The longer you own the shuttle, the easier it may become to forgive. Your eye will adjust to the proportions. In flight mode, you may forget the issue entirely, but one day you will fold the wings upwards and once again you'll see not merely what the model is, you'll see what it should have been. This is the new LEGO Lambda shuttle, and it's very good, but it should have been great. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you enjoyed, because there are plenty more reviews coming soon. Check out my LEGO Jaws or LEGO Gringotts reviews on the end screen. They are my two most recent reviews, and there's more LEGO Star Wars reviews coming soon. Comment down below what you'd like me to review next, and I'll catch you later.